In this vast and often heartless world, not every bond is shared by blood, and not every blood relation is true. This story takes place on the freezing, unforgiving streets of a major city in the USA, where the winter wind screams like a wounded animal and the cold can turn a man's blood into shards of ice. We often think we know what family means, but sometimes the true meaning of a parent is found in the most unexpected places. 20 years ago, on a night when the rain fell like sharp needles, a poor laborer named Arthur was walking home after a grueling double shift at the local shipyard. He had nothing but a tattered coat, a few cents in his pocket, and a heart made of pure gold. As he passed a flickering street lamp near a mountain of discarded trash, he heard a sound that didn't belong in the silence of the night, a fragile, rhythmic sobbing that cut through the thunder. Arthur stopped in his tracks, his breath hitching in his throat. He thought it might be a stray animal caught in the debris. But when he pushed aside the heavy, wet bags of garbage, his soul trembled with pure horror. There, wrapped in thin, damp rags and lying inside a soggy cardboard box, were 3 tiny baby girls. They were shivering, their skin turning a terrifying shade of blue from the freezing cold. Someone had decided these 3 lives were worth nothing. Someone had treated them like garbage and dumped them there to die in the dark. Arthur's heart shattered into a million pieces. He didn't call the police immediately, fearing that the broken foster system would separate these sisters forever. Instead, he gathered the box into his arms, shielding the infants with his own body, and ran through the storm as if his own life depended on it. When he reached his cramped 1-bedroom apartment, his wife, Martha, was waiting by the door. Martha, who had prayed for children for over 15 years, burst into tears the moment she saw the infants. She didn't ask about the rent they couldn't pay or the food they didn't have. She simply held them close to her heart and whispered, "Arthur, the world has rejected them, but from today, we will be their entire world." And so the ultimate test of sacrifice began. They were incredibly poor, living on the edge of survival. Arthur took on every job he could find. He worked as a shipyard laborer by day and drove a taxi until 3 in the morning. Martha scrubbed floors in the mansions of the wealthy just so they could send Bella, Elena, and Chloe to the best schools. For 2 decades, they never bought a single new piece of clothing for themselves. Arthur wore shoes with holes in the soles for years, and Martha often went to bed hungry, telling the girls she wasn't hungry just so their plates would be full. They raised those girls with love, dignity, and a strength that all the money in the world could never buy. Time passed like a slow river, and those tiny babies grew into beautiful, educated, and kind-hearted young women. They didn't know they were adopted in the legal sense. They only knew that Arthur was the man who protected them and Martha was the woman who loved them without limits. But the biggest twist of fate was yet to come. One day, Arthur checked an old lottery ticket he had kept in his drawer for months. As the numbers appeared on the screen, his eyes nearly popped out of his head. He had won the historic jackpot, $100 million. The news spread through the country like wildfire. Pictures of the janitor millionaire and his 3 beautiful daughters were on every news channel from New York to Los Angeles. It was a modern-day fairy tale. But as they say, wherever there is light, shadows will follow. This fame caught the eyes of 2 greedy predators living in a luxury penthouse. Mr. and Mrs. Sterling, a wealthy but debt-ridden couple, recognized the girls on TV. This was the same couple who, 20 years ago, had been obsessed with having a male heir. When they had triplets and discovered they were all girls, they were disgusted. They didn't want the burden of raising 3 daughters. They had bribed a corrupt doctor to fake death records and had personally dumped those babies in the trash on that stormy night. But now, driven by the scent of $100 million, their conscience had suddenly awakened. They immediately filed a massive lawsuit against Arthur and Martha. The courtroom was packed with reporters, cameras, and curious onlookers. Mr. Sterling stood before the judge and lied through his teeth, crying fake tears and claiming that Arthur had kidnapped and abducted his daughters 20 years ago. The public, fueled by the Sterlings' expensive lawyers, began to look at Arthur as a criminal who had stolen someone's children. Arthur and Martha stood in the dock sobbing. With no high-priced legal team to defend them, they had only the truth. That's when Judge Richardson, a man known for his ironclad pursuit of justice, demanded a full federal investigation. When the detectives dug deep into the cold files of the past, the horrific truth finally emerged. They found an old hospital security guard who had lived with a heavy secret for 20 years. He testified that he saw the Sterlings carrying a box to the trash that night. The truth was finally out. Arthur hadn't kidnapped anyone. He had rescued what these monsters had thrown away. The judge's fury was like a thunderclap. He sentenced the Sterling couple to 5 years in federal prison and a massive multi-million-dollar fine for child abandonment, perjury, and fraud. But the most powerful moment was yet to come. The judge looked at Bella, Elena, and Chloe and told them the law recognized the Sterlings as their biological parents. He asked them who they wanted to stay with. Mr. Sterling reached out his hand, promising them a life of unimaginable luxury and real family heritage. But the 3 girls didn't even look at him. They stepped back in disgust and walked straight to Arthur, hugging him so tightly that the room went silent. Bella spoke with a voice that echoed through the courtroom and into the hearts of everyone present. Parents aren't the ones who give birth to you and then dump you in the trash like you're nothing but garbage. Parents are the ones who give you their only blanket in the freezing cold while they shiver. Parents are the ones who skip meals so you can grow strong. Our only real parents, our only real family, are Arthur and Martha. The entire courtroom erupted in thunderous applause. People were standing on their chairs, cheering for the poor man who had become a hero. Arthur had proven to the entire world that the bond of love, sacrifice, and parwarish is 1,000 times more powerful than the bond of blood. Today they live together in a magnificent home, but they haven't forgotten where they came from. Arthur used his wealth to build orphanages and shelters, proving that humanity and love are the greatest riches a person can ever possess. Friends, if this story touched your heart, remember that a real father isn't defined by DNA, but by the love he gives. If you believe Arthur and Martha are the true heroes, then like this video and subscribe for more stories that remind us of the beauty of the human spirit. Tell us in the comments, what does family mean to you? Thank you for watching, and may we all find the strength to be as kind as Arthur.